everyone, and welcome to episode 83 of the Rishi's Radio Podcast, your place for horological hot takes, taboo topics, and often unpopular watch opinions. As always, my name is Schmidt, and I'm joined by my good buddy. You guys know him, you love him, Mr. Bro Dinky. Bro, what's going on, my friend?
A happy Memorial Day to you and everybody else out
Yes.
there. We are recording on Memorial Day. We decided not to drop the episode on Memorial Day because most of our listenership is in the United States, and we didn't think anybody would be listening today. In addition to just not detracting from the holiday here in
Yes.
the
Yeah.
states, almost feels wrong to take away from it after our episode with the guys from the Anti-Watch Club. So
Yeah.
to those who are actively serving, we appreciate you. And to those who are inactive or otherwise, we thank you for your service. So big ups to all you out there helping us as a functional unit here in this country. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah. And lastly, and certainly not least important of all, but to those who are no longer around that made the ultimate
Of
sacrifice.
course, yeah,
That's I think the important distinction too. We have a lot
not
of
to
great
be
service members around, but
forgotten.
we can't forget the ones that are no longer with us for the military service. So, thank you to everyone out there that has served, will serve, knows somebody that's served. It means a lot.
For sure. It's not just about the burgers and dogs today, although as much fun as that is
I
to kick
know.
kick back with a brewski.
Good old American brewski.
That's
That's
right.
what I want. That's what I want.
Yeah. How was your Memorial Day overall?
It was good. Spent some time with the fam. Celebrated an anniversary with the wife. So 7 year anniversary over the weekend, and decided, you know what, why spend the anniversary on us two? Let's take the kiddos out, and we took them to a local splash park, splash pad kind of thing here in our city. So the girls had a blast. I got way too hot, way too burned, but it was fun being outside and enjoying the weather. It was great.
Very
How
nice.
about
Very
you?
nice. I'm gonna be honest, I worked.
Oof.
Thankfully, given my newer job, uh, I'm I'm not non-existent this weekend. Like I was able to hang out a little bit and make a few appearances at things. And I got my Friday and Saturday off, which were nice.
Nice.
Yeah. But just due to, as I mentioned, my interesting staffing situation, I worked a nice 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. today, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
really. But put on a nice barbecue for the folks down at the spot I'm at, and we had a good time.
Yeah.
And here I am. It's kind of I came home, kind of said hi to my my family was over with my wife and kids, so it was kind of nice to see
Okay.
everybody. But aside from that, just hanging out mostly. I had a beer after I got home, just kind of took it all in, hopped in a shower, and I'm ready to go here.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So let's, I guess, hit the new stuff real quick.
A
Let's
lot of new
start.
stuff.
Yeah, a lot of new stuff in the past like 48 hours, which is kind of nuts. But this whole episode is gonna be a little bit about new stuff, not necessarily new in the immediate, but you'll see. Let's I guess start with the Tag Monaco skeleton. Right. I usually don't like skeleton watches. I kind of dig this one. It's interesting. It's got some neat little pieces about it. You can have it in three different flavors. So there's a blue sandblasted dial, there's a black sandblasted dial with a sandblasted titanium case and red accents. There's a black sandblasted dial with DLC sandblasted titanium case and turquoise accents. Funny part
Yeah.
about that one is it kind of looks like it belongs in the Seiko like night collection that they put out recently, right? Does it not?
It does. Now that you mention it, I can't unsee that.
And now what I'm thinking is Seiko Ultimate Troll, bring back the Seiko Monaco
Oh
from the
God.
old days in that colorway, and
Oh
look
no.
what you got. Look what
Oh
you got,
no.
an affordable version of this Swiss watch. Do what you do. That's what you do, Seiko. Undercut.
Yeah.
That's what we love. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think it's a cool release. I think it looks good.
It's
Again,
edgy. It's
I
edgy for sure. It's
I
edgy for
I
sure.
really don't usually like the skeletonized look, I usually find it kind of illegible. I don't find that case here. I like the way that the loom plots are laid out. I'm getting a little bit, and I might be dating myself here. I don't know if you're gonna get this one, but as a kid who grew up in the 90s, there was an 80s movie I used to watch called Short Circuit. Are you familiar with this one?
Oh yeah, of course.
So
Johnny Five.
classic Johnny Five,
Yeah.
right? First of all, hilarious that this movie is
Absolutely.
so classically 80s because not only is it just like something about like the
Outlandish and
wild
ridiculous.
future, yeah, ridiculous, but they had, I don't know if you know this, the guy who develops him, they couldn't they they decided they couldn't find an Indian actor. That's Fisher Stevens posing as a brown guy,
Huh.
like the actor. There's an actor Fisher Stevens. I think he was in, what was he in recently? Succession. I think he was in recently.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
But he's been a long time actor, and he's like, wearing the makeup and doing the whole taboo thing that people didn't really think about much back then. But it's
What's
just
funny
such.
what's funny too, isn't there like four short circuits? Like there was like a whole like
There's at least
saga.
two. There's at least two that I know.
There's a collection of these movies somewhere. It's kind of ridiculous.
But
But
as I
yeah, I
look,
totally get that.
as I looked at the watch, right, and I see the first one with the blue accents, and then I flip to the next one, and it's darker and it's got red accents.
Yeah, yeah.
All I can think of is when Johnny Five gets pissed off
Yeah, and he gets red, right?
when the gang assaults him, and he decides to take it out on them, and he goes red, and I was like, oh man, this is great. Like, I love that movie. So just a funny nostalgic callback there.
Oh
And
my God.
who grew up in the same time frame as me will hopefully get that one. But just something that came across my brain as I was looking at it.
Yeah.
I'll draw that one up for the episode post. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's a cool release. I'm also gonna say I think it's interesting what Tag is doing recently. It seems like they've got
They're trying to step
themselves.
up something. I don't know what that something is yet, but they are stepping up something.
Well, they've started with their image. I mean, they've had the Gauze, but they've kind of brought on sort of this newer, hipper, younger generation of like
Yeah.
actors and actresses and things
Yeah.
as sort of their ambassadors. I know they got um who's it, Madeline Klein. They've got Alexandra Daddario, is a personal favorite of mine,
Yeah.
among
Uh-huh.
among a couple other people. But it seems like they're trying to do some outreach here, trying to get their hooks back in the younger generations, kind of where they
Yeah.
were back in the '90s, where like we always talk about, Tag was kind of like second fiddle to Rolex at that point. So
Yeah. I mean, and man, maybe not so much in quality, but at least in recognition,
yes,
right?
that's what I
Like
meant. Yeah,
brand
brand
awareness,
recognition,
right?
right?
Yeah, exactly. Um, I have to say, I mean, I think we're seeing a new generation of tag, which I do like. I think maybe our 26-year-old affectionately young CEO is maybe somewhat getting a grasp on what the direction should be for the brand. I think we had a couple good hits. The new Carrera collection. When the Gauze movie came out earlier this year or at the end of last year was very well received. I bought into the marketing. I was like, yeah, I could see myself owning this silver dial Tag Carrera, non chrono on a black leather strap.
Yeah.
It looks cool. And then we had the launch of the kind of colorful dials, which we'll get in a moment. And then we saw the glass box sapphire versions debut to Watches and Wonders,
Yes.
the kind of heritage throwback, which I think was very well received. You and I had kind of predicted that was going to happen, and it made sense. Our prediction came true. And now this is kind of an out of a left field thing for me, but I think it works. I will say personally, however, this misses one key collectible thing for me personally that I would have loved to see on this watch, but it might have been just the limitation of its design or the movement that they could have utilized that maybe this wasn't possible. But for me, I love the collection. I think it's edgy. I love the way they integrated the loom on the dials as well because it kind of makes like a geometric shape too,
Yeah, it's neat.
which is interesting. But for me, the killer for this watch is I hate the Monacos with crowns on the right side.
Ah, okay.
The crown should always be on the left, as was per the original Monaco. So had this done that, it would have been chef's kiss for me. I still love it. I still think it's awesome. It's just that one little thing is my gripe about it. That I could see that other collectors might also feel the same way. So, if you're not familiar with the original Monacos, the crown was always on the left side, but the pushers were always on the right side. It was kind of this opposite asymmetrical thing that made it really cool. So, tag, that's my only miss. But other than that, I think you made a really cool watch.
I agree. Let's talk Breitling. Breitling has been sort of MIA recently.
Haven't they?
I think
Like,
everybody's sort of mentioned that at this point.
but and the thing is, it's weird is like they've been MIA, but like what they've dropped is like rebuildings of stuff that they've previously dropped before,
And they've done it again.
and they did it again. And I was super confused. And this drop, I think, if I correct me if I'm wrong, bro, it really happened kind of over the weekend in kind of like a subtle release because I didn't see anybody really talking about it, at least not that caught my radar right off the bat. And I saw somebody post about it from like a watch dealer store, and I was like, "You're posting about this AV watch that's been out for like 5 years or something like that?" And then come to find out, it's a new version in 42 millimeter.
Right. The old one is 46
Yeah, I'm like, well, your first mistake was making a 46 millimeter
to
version of
begin
this
with.
watch. That was your first mistake. And then the second mistake is you're making the same watches again. Now they just happen to be smaller.
It's weird. It's like the car collection one we talked
Yes,
about recently.
absolutely. This doesn't make sense at all to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this year at least, Breitling seems a little creatively bankrupt. I mean, maybe that's a stretch, but I think about kind of the stuff that came out most recently. We've had, their capsule collections. We've had, when the cars collection first came out, like it was noteworthy. We had the update to the Super Ocean, um, all the kind of advancement of the Premier line as well. But now you're looking at Breitling stuff, and it's like it's the same.
Yeah, it's a little strange, especially because I felt like they were trending in the right direction. I felt like they had a bit of a little, kindling going on when they were dropping the chronomats and things like that. They were giving you something different. They were
Exactly.
giving you something a little fresh,
And
a
it
little
still
bit of
felt
a
Breitling. It
right,
still felt like Breitling.
a little bit of a new take on the brand, kind of what Tag is doing now. But right, I mean, they had that whole thing where George Kern was driving the plane, and it was like we've got all these models coming out, and then since then, I mean, look, I don't know if they're doing a lot of turnover internally or something,
I have
or
no
if
idea.
they are preparing for a major pivot, maybe. So they're just sort of doing this to tread
Yeah.
water for now,
I mean that could make sense, right?
right?
Just kind of mail it in a little bit, turn some new products so you don't become irrelevant, but also, nothing too crazy or too noteworthy where it could really stir the pot if you are making a change. Maybe that's what's coming on, and maybe that's what's happening. Because this, to me, this is just a very like basic launch. Oh, cool. The same watch has been in 46 millimeter for the last 3 years is now in 42. And you have to ask yourself, is like this collection even still relevant? Because I
They're not.
know for a fact, like for me, when this collection first came out, the AV watches first came out, I loved them. I absolutely loved them. I thought they were cool. I thought they were the right mix between vintage Breitling and kind of new Breitling. And then I looked at the specs and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is a 46 millimeter watch. I thought Kern was trying to rein in the sizes, not inflate them. And so I was like, this is a mistake. And sure enough, from all the people that I've talked to that have Breitling contracts and that can sell the brand, the AV collection sells to very few people because the size is so polarizing. It's Breitling from the 2000s. And, this is obviously a step in the right direction, but is it a little too, is it a little bit too late? You know,
Yeah, it's just weird. It's just
it's weird. I mean, again, the watches look good. They
yeah, they're
they
not
don't
bad
look
watches.
bad.
That's the funny part. They're not bad watches. They're
Not at
nice,
all.
you know, pilot inspired chronographs. They each match up with a some form of legendary aircraft like the
Correct.
Mustang. It's a cool concept. It's a cool watch. It's just we've had this one
Yeah.
already, you know.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is also too, Breitling trying to bring their prices down as well, because these are under
I
$6,000
saw
or so US.
5800, I think I saw.
Yeah, 50, around 58, 58, 59, something like that. So this is kind of like probably the best looking value for money Breitling chrono on the market, maybe. I mean, I think it's probably pretty safe to say that,
Okay.
especially because it's got the old school, sub-dial layout, right? The
Right.
369, not like the 6 9 12 layout, like on some of the old Value 7750 variant
Yep.
movements, where right off the bat that this is a Value, it's a wrist swinger. Um, but this collection looks good, and you have your choice of like bracelet or strap, and the bracelet's kind of like this, classic Breitling, like the sideways link. I don't know how they, or the diagonal link. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like I don't know what the official name is for it, but like the classic quintessential like 2000s Breitling bracelet, where somehow they made links diagonal
Yeah, I'm
and
thinking
still
like the
and still functional.
aerospace, I think, has it,
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
I'm correct.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, right. And some of the old Navitimers used to have it too.
Yeah.
Um, but cool bracelet design, very Breitling. A pain in the butt to size, though. I
One
will
would
say that.
assume.
Well, it's because it has like two screws for each link, and so you have to like remove, like you have to remove both screws. One part of the link literally comes out, the other part slides out, and then you have to remove like two links to remove one link. It's really
uh,
complicated. Anybody who's ever sized an old Navitimer bracelet knows exactly what I'm talking about. But it's kind of a pain in the butt, for sure. But good looking watches, I just don't know if it's a little bit too late.
yeah, I'm wondering if we're gonna find out down the road exactly what's going on here.
Did you see that they also launched a collection of university watches?
I did not.
I'm literally just looking at the website, clicking through things, and sure enough, yeah.
I have been known to find watches this way randomly, but I will look.
So these are part of the endurance collection, and it looks like they have only a few schools represented so far, but there's University of Michigan, the U.S. Naval Academy, Alabama, and Princeton.
Strange.
So basically, it's the endurance collection everybody knows in those respective colorways that match up with the school colors. And then the sub dial at 6 o'clock has the school's emblem or logo in it. I was like, Princeton?
Kind of weird. I'm still
Super
looking for
weird.
them here, but
Again, this just seems like another mail it in type of situation for me, right? Like, you really think Princeton kids are wearing this kind of like large orange endurance? Like to me, if you were really doing a college matchup, like this is kind of like Super Ocean Heritage or like Premier territory. You
yeah,
know what I
you would
mean?
think so.
Like just based on the aesthetic or the caliber of what that school's really known for. Like I could see Michigan, I could see Alabama, but Naval Academy, like why not do a diver? You know what I mean? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
And
that's
again, price points are low, so what are you gonna do?
yeah. Speaking of Naval Academy, I totally forgot. I went to this pretty sweet thing over the weekend. That was it was basically the I think it was the Navy and the Marines were flying helicopters and like landing them at a local park by me, and
Oh,
like you
cool.
could go and like check it out, and, like sit in them and stuff. So you take the kids because they're into that stuff.
Yeah.
But but obviously I'm there with them, and my wife's staring at me because she knows what I'm doing, trying to sneak a peek at everybody's wrist who's around. Not nothing too crazy. I saw one or two interesting picks. I think I saw that black titanium Hamilton I really like.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. That's a nice choice.
Yeah, a lot of G-Shock. Uh
Any Citizen Nighthawks or Blue Angels, Citizen Blue Angels?
I didn't see anything on that level. The pilots were also wearing like jumpsuits, so they really didn't have their wrists too exposed. But it
Yeah,
was cool. It's cool to kind of just go out there and check it out and see what the whole thing was about.
yeah, for sure.
But very neat overall. Yeah, totally forgot about that in the beginning of the show, but
Hey, it happens.
it
Life.
it certainly do. It certainly do. All right. Next up, we'll do the Aquastar 60. Aquastar, a brand that you and I are both a fan of. They are now releasing this model called. It's inspired by the Model 60, which came out in 1960 and was
Hmm.
among one of the first watches to go to the ocean floor on expedition, of course. This watch is 37 millimeters, 11 thick, Lejeune Perret movement. Comes in under $1,000 at 990 on strap. I, this is everything I like about this brand. It's clean. It's got a vintage look to it. They didn't do too much with the patina, which I like, and
Yeah,
it's just a nice little package. I mean, these are the kind of watches that I look for right now, like that I'm just into. I like these H cases overall. I
yeah. I was gonna say the H case is really making a big comeback.
it really is. I mean, it's a nice case because it's pretty slim. It's got both directions, whether it be sitting on your wrist or sort of looking directly at it. It's got sort of a slim profile both ways. It's a nice concise package. You can get it down to a 37, 38 and not feel like you're kind of underselling your diver, which I feel like can happen if you are trying to shrink a diver, let's say. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
it could be tough if you're trying to drop like a Willard that small, you know what I mean? It's just
yeah.
it might look just way too condensed. But yeah, I really like them, and Aquastar is a brand that I really like overall. I mean, I'm yet to get my hands on one, like and really fiddle around with it. I mean, I've seen them in person. I just have never really got the chance to do some fondling.
Yeah, yeah.
But I like them. I like this too. It's kind of basic, but I like it. I like the steel bezel. I'm in. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's certainly a cool design. I mean, obviously a blast from the past from a very historic diving watch brand. It's good to see them diversifying kind of away from some of the other models that they've been, proliferating over the last couple of years.
We've gotten a lot
Um,
of color from them recently. A lot of
yes.
green, a lot of blue.
Yeah, exactly. And this is very much the opposite of that. Just
Yes.
like
A little
very
sterile.
utilitarian, very sterile, black H case, brushed out from the center, brushed out bezel, tropic strap. Like it's quintessentially no fuss, no frills 1960s diver. Like something that you would buy at the dive shop as a tool and you're like, "Yeah, I'll get that alongside my regulator." You're like, "That to me is very cool." I also love that like the first few people that actually pre-ordered this watch would get like a diving compass to go with their
I
watch. I'm
did
like,
see
that
that.
is
I'm like, that's
that
neat.
is so gangster and so very cool. I think obviously this is something that doesn't really cost much of anything, but it's just kind of a subtle nod to like how people used to do it. Like they used to have their diving watch with their compass mounted on their strap and be able to use it, and you would wear that right next to your depth gauge, and that's how you were tracking your bottom time. Like it's old school way of doing it. Still very functional today if you really needed to do that and didn't have a dive computer handy. Um, Very cool to see them to kind of honor that tradition, which is exactly when this watch was in its heyday, in its golden era of diving. So, 1960s, 1970s. So it's cool to see that. Very simple design. I love it. I think Jason Heaton did like a photo series with this one. I forget who for, but he did like a picture shot of him like underwater diving with this watch. And to me, honestly, for the money, I would rather have this watch over a Black Bay 54. Hot take, but this is a way cooler watch, especially at that same millimeter size.
It's funny you mentioned that because I happened to take in an article somebody sent me recently, and it was, um, I guess, Watches of Espionage did a best watches under $1,000. Asked a few people to contribute to it, and they all kind of gave their own. Some of them were military dudes, some of them were just kind of random people, and this is going to kind of tie into our topic as we go here because we this week we're going to talk a little bit about sort of the summer watch and everything, at least recent ones. But it's funny. People have been DMing me sort of recently because we were talking about how watch media is a little bit stale and
Yeah,
how it's
yeah.
it's just a little. It feels just very uh, advertisement driven recently.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have said they felt that they felt like the content has been kind of dull, that it's been a little bit less fun, that it's been a lot more about the sales. And I mean, that could be for a multitude of reasons, right? That could be just trying to increase revenue, right? The more you put out the ads, the more you're going to try to convert sales, et cetera, et cetera. I understand
Right.
that. But anyway, so getting back to this article, and this is just like a prime example of this kind of hit me in the face when I was looking at it. And they have some military dudes, and one guy picked an Arnie. I thought it was neat. Like there's a few neat picks in there as well. But so it gets to Eric Wind. What watch does he pick?
Oh yes, I remember this. You told me about that.
Rowing Blazers Seiko 5. You have $1,000 to spend on a watch. Best watch under $1,000. Look, no shade. I'm not talking shit, but like to me, that was like, I don't know if that's a feeble attempt or if it's just what it is. It's
Oh
I guess
God.
it's disappointing. First of all, you have an opportunity to highlight a watch that maybe you want to shed some light on, maybe you think is not getting the credit it deserves. Your price
Yeah,
point is
especially with your reach.
right, and your price point is also $1,000. So instead, you pick a one that you push, and I mean, I don't know if a single person would pick that Seiko. I could pick a Seiko under 1,000 easily, but
Yeah, absolutely, for
that
sure.
one, I don't think you'd get one person.
It certainly would not be my
Again,
first
it's
choice.
not. It's not. This has not like this isn't a personal vendetta or anything. It's just I was just like,
No, you're calling it like you see it. And I'm the same way. I'm like when you told me the story, I was just laughing. Laughing, absolutely laughing because I know how silly it is and I know how ridiculous it is. And again, it's about, pushing the product, right? And it's not even a product that you necessarily love, but we're telling you to consume the product and be ready for the next product drop. And you better be ready to consume that too. You know, it's kind of how it feels. And $1,000, really? That's your goal? And you picked that watch?
I mean, and that's I can't remember the retail on. It's like 450, but even then, those Seikos you can get those Seikos for like
For
two
like 200
something.
bucks.
Yeah, that not that branded Seiko, but that model of Seiko in
Yeah.
its more basic form. And we've talked about sort of our gripes with that, right? That it's kind of been nerfed down from what the SKX was, and we know that they've kind of tried to put their sort of streetwear spin on it and make it a little more friendly for everybody to wear overall. But a lot of the charm sort of went out the window with its transition away from the sort of the SKX lineage to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, you're leaving a ton of money on the table. The specs aren't great. Style's okay, size is okay. The bracelet that comes on that isn't all that great. Like I don't know, it just rubbed me very awkwardly, and I was just like, man, this is exactly what I've been talking about.
Yep.
You know, so I don't know. I
Hot
don't know.
take.
Again, it's not. I have nothing to be sour over. There's no sour grapes or anything. It's just it's this. These are the kind of things that I want to stay away from, and that people apparently come to us for because again, I got no skin in the game. You're not selling anything on your end, so
Yep.
We're just kind of telling it as it is from our perspective. And again, I don't think we're right all the time, but I think we hit it on the head some of the time, and that's good enough for me.
I would lean more to we hit it on the head more so than we don't. You
I'm
know,
the type of person that I like to acknowledge that I don't know everything, and I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? Like,
no, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know everything either. Nobody does, right? But I think we do pretty well with our predictions, pretty well with our opinions, and I think a lot of people really do drive with it, and they do like it. So what are you gonna do? We're just gonna keep doing us.
yeah. So, anyways, people kind of
Doing
sharing our sentiment with that, and I think that hopefully that'll keep ringing true. But we're also going to bring you some of that stuff a little later. But first, I think the moment everybody's been waiting for here is we haven't talked about the AP Spider-Man Tourbillon.
God. Why did you remind me about this dumpster fire? Oh,
My
this
I
is
would
honestly
say
this honestly to me is why the CEO of AP is moving on. They saw the Black Panther watch and they're like, "You wait, you came back for a second, as if we weren't already humiliated enough. You gotta drag our name back through the mud again."
I would
No.
say the most redeeming quality of this watch is that they moved Spider-Man so that his
Yeah, so
nutsack
his
would not
junk
be the
eh,
tourbillon.
yes. Yeah.
They learned at least from Black Panther that they were like, I don't need to see that meme of the guy sitting on the bed again.
Can you just imagine this to me though? Like how many people saw that, went through all the different phases of product development, of research and development, of all the different test groups and everybody that they put in front of that rendering when the Black Panther watch came out, and nobody thought, "Hey, what happens if we put the hands at 6:30?"
You know, I saw somebody comment that these watches are not for any of us. These watches are for
No, they're not. It's
basically
it's
LeBron
basically
and
for
Kevin
LeBron.
Hart. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it's for
Yeah.
LeBron.
And I was
I
like,
mean,
I guess.
it's true, but again, look, you want to talk about like, everyone used to say, oh, the Moon Swatch came out and it's devaluing Omega's brand image, right? It's undercutting the brand image because it's bringing it to a lower tiered level. This is, in my opinion, is actually doing that because
Do you know how hard that is to do with a 195,000 Swiss franc price point to devalue your brand? That takes talent. This almost feels like. Did you ever see the Seinfeld episode where George is trying to get fired?
yes,
Where I think it's the Mets offer him a deal and he wants to get canned from the Yankees, so he's dragging the championship trophy around the parking lot and stuff, and he's just doing absurd things.
yeah, yeah,
That's
just
what this
doing
feels like. It's like
anything.
he's like Black Panther tourbillon, and it's gonna look like the tourbillon is right between his legs. It's gonna be hilarious. It didn't get him canned. All right, I got one more bullet up the sleeve. We're gonna get double dip. We're gonna go Spider Man,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be
After
everything.
they did a global announcement that they were partnering with Marvel, and I was like, "Oh, great! One of the most expensive watch companies on the planet is partnering with one of the most ubiquitous IPs in the world that everybody knows."
And these models are gonna take everything you like about the Royal Oak and not use them. No bracelet, right? The best part of the Royal Oak is the bracelet.
Oh my
No
gosh!
bracelet, right? We're gonna give it an ugly strap. We're gonna put it in really strange dark colorways. We're gonna give it cartoony characters.
It's hideous. Like, just take this, and we'll just put a little box together, and we'll put the Black Panther tourbillon, and we'll put the Nespresso Hublot, and we'll put this one inside, and we'll just seal it, and then drop it off in the middle of the ocean at
I
the
was gonna say
bottom of
we're
the
gonna bury it
Atlantic.
at sea, right? With
Yeah, we're
Megatron,
just it's yeah, we're
right?
exactly.
Megatron
We're
and
gonna
Bin
we're
Laden.
gonna drop him off a boat to the bottom of the ocean. Hopefully nobody finds him. Yeah, exactly. I
Uh,
mean, this to me, and again, I don't really know what direction AP is going. I don't know what Wei Ko's boyfriend, the former CEO of AP, is now doing. Did they say where he's going?
no,
Which to me is not a good thing
not that I saw at least. I'm sure maybe
because
somebody
I
knows.
didn't I didn't see it either, and that's why I was kind of tripping out because he was really the face of AP for what, 10 years, something like that. And he really helped to kind of bring them into the cult collector status. Because let's be honest, AP 10 years ago was a joke. They had distribution points all over the world that were garbage. They used to be exclusively sold through retailers, not through boutiques. And they were just, they would take a 50% cut, 40% cut off margins. They were being discounted like crazy. Nobody wanted them. It was not a brand that was desirable for anyone. And then all of a sudden, this guy really takes over and he starts to weed out the issues. They started getting rid of AD partners that were not exclusive enough for them. They started getting rid of people that were discounting their prices. They started moving into the monobrand boutique stores. They started doing allocation pieces, and they just started driving up their notoriety within the industry, within celebrities and all these people, and it made them the brand that they are now. This to me is the opposite effect of that. And it's almost like AP decided, hey, we need to go into an entirely new demographic, an entirely new generation of AP. Let's just flip the script 180, bring a complete outsider from no watch background, and we'll bring in a woman from the cosmetics industry. And I'm like, wait, what? And again, nothing against her resume. She's probably deserved to be there. It just seems very strange that it's completely the opposite of who the previous CEO was.
Maybe it's because he loves Marvel. I don't know.
You know, I was really waiting for the Hulk one. That would have at least been cool.
That would really tweak a lot of people because there's already a Hulk. So you want to make an offshore diver in green with the Hulk on it? That would be a real tweak.
Oh my god! Yep, yep.
So yeah, and it's funny. This watch actually dropped, I think, on the day we did our episode, or our episode dropped last week, and so I had to mention it last week, being like, "I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait a week for the Spider-Man Tourbillon take, but
Yeah.
it'll be good." Somebody commented, "Wait, you mean you didn't pick Spider-Man Tourbillon for 007?" I was like, "No, no, no, I did not."
Exactly. Yeah, definitely not. Just send it out to the bottom of the ocean. We could just be done with it.
All right, let's round this out with actually one that kind of we've sort of teased at this one before, sort of not knowing. Zodiac put out a Super Sea Wolf in
Yes.
the exact colorway we wanted. So it's
The
sort
Gulf
of like
colorway.
the almost identical to the Gulf. I think it might be just a little bluer than it is green on the original Gulf, but it's still, you're getting the very light blue, sort of sky blue and orange motif on this one. And yeah, we kind of asked for it, and here it is. So you're getting it in the Super Sea Wolf package. You can get a Jubilee bracelet. And yeah, like we said in our previous, was either last week or 2 weeks ago, man,
Yeah.
they nail it with the colors, and they just keep doing it. And that's what's going to keep them going right now, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, they're operating in that very competitive price point. They've made a lot of strides as far as brand image goes recently. Our buddy Mike's been doing a good job with that,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
their outreach. But the number one thing I think that has sort of drawn people to them even before that, sort of even probably in the pre-pandemic era, was their use of color, right? The original, the Gulf that I always harken back to, that the watermelon, the lime green one that I have. It's
Yep.
These are the really fun pieces that they've put out that sort of always caught your eye and sort of drew you over to them. So I think they just got to keep hammering away at it. These are fun. They're cool. I do think this is a limited because their social has posted "get it before it's gone." I mean, they
Ooh.
generally kind of do,
Yeah, but they
even their
do
regular
like little
production.
runs. They do
Yeah,
like
their
runs.
regular production is usually little runs too. So I don't know if it's limited to a number or if it's just going to be it's here till it's not type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. It's neat.
No, I loved it. I immediately sent it to you when I saw it on social today, and I was like, oh, we were literally just talking about you. It's nice to see you return. But I think one of the biggest hallmarks for Zodiac right now as a brand is the use of color. I think kind of the penultimate example of this is the skeleton that they came out with a few weeks ago. Like with this crazy bezel with all the rainbow
Yeah,
colors and everything. Like to me, that's just cool. I think it was an original idea. It was a way to incorporate the rainbow design without going into like a gem set bezel like everybody else is doing. Still offer it at a very attractive price point and make it fun and unique. Oh, and by the way, you threw in a skeletonized movement, right? Like to me, that is cool. This extension of that watch is also something that I like. It's a great addition to the Super Seawolf. Those colors just work very well together anyway. And it was kind of cool that we kind of forecasted this and we didn't even realize it. And just so you guys know, if you are looking on the website, this is not the version to be confused with the previous generation, which is kind of like a white dial, white bezel with the orange accents.
right,
This one has light blue on the bezel scale and kind of like a silvery dial with the orange accents. So
right.
a little bit different,
Reminiscent
but
of those
more.
old Bakelite blue
Yeah,
bezels.
exactly. And I really wish they would bring that watch back, like the 53 Bakelite black dial, light blue bezel. That's what I really
They
want.
should release that in as like their like I don't want to call it like a super watch, but like their souped up version. You know what I mean? They should make that one chronometer spec, right? Deck it
Yeah,
out like all bells and whistles. Charge a little extra for it, get some money for your time, but
yeah,
if you're gonna bring that one back, make it the one.
yeah.
Because people will
I
go
think
after it. People
yeah,
take
you
people
just go full send.
Yep,
Yeah,
100%.
exactly. We got a little bit of that light blue touch in some of the other models from previous collections that they did, but I think if you did the 53 again, black dial, Bakelite, blue bezel, old school kind of hands with the little line down the center of them, I
Yeah.
think that vibe would be awesome. So, I love it. Great choice, Zodiac. Good job, Mike. Nice to know somebody's listening out there.
All right, yeah. So as I kind of alluded to earlier, last year around this time, a little before, we were talking summer watches. We sort of just breezed over our ideas of what a great summer watch is, and sort of made our picks based on what we've sort of had our eye on. This time around, given that it's the warm season again, we wanted to pick from a smaller pool, so we kind of limited it to watches that came out at least within the past year. About
Hmm.
um, I do think a couple of the ones we talked about today probably fit the bill. I'm sure that Aquastar would make a great summer watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I'm
that's a new
sure,
release, right?
yeah, I'm sure that Zodiac would make a great summer watch, especially in
Yep.
those colors, right? And the fact you can get both on Tropics never hurts.
Perfect.
Because yeah, it's just bracelets in the summer, man. Wrist swelling, sweating, the
Yeah.
chafe.
Or taking the kids to the splash park.
Yeah,
Gotta have a rubber strap of some type.
yeah,
Or a NATO.
absolutely. Yeah. So those would fit the bill nicely. But those aside, you and I both did a little picking around, and I'm not gonna lie, I like you said earlier, this was a little tougher than I thought. I definitely went back and sort of combed over some ideas that we've had from past episodes and sort of looked at just some of the newer stuff that was released, because it's hard to remember. I mean, between
Yeah, it
Watches of
is.
Wonders, between Moon's Watches, between all these different things that drop, you sort of forget about models here and there. So I definitely went back and sort of checked those out. I will lead it off with this model of Citizen is not necessarily new, but they dropped newer ones recently this year. It is the Citizen Suyosa, Tsuyosa. Um, these are these little sort of fun. I'm sure some people would say that these are sort of in the vein of the OP craze with the colorways and stuff,
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
dropped these in a few different colors. I know some people who had them in yellow, probably over a year ago, but this year they dropped a blue, a light blue, and sort of a turquoise sort of gradient fume looking one.
Yeah.
They come on they come with a Cyclops. They come on a integrated bracelet, These remind me a lot of the little Seiko that I have that I talk about a lot. It's like a little 37 millimeter Seiko, and it's
Hmm.
just it. You know, from far away, you would have thought it was a Swiss dress watch, and it's not. But this is sort of the same idea.
That's the one you
Like,
have on the Jubilee, right? Like
yes,
the
yes,
little banger Jubilee.
right. And it does that one. It doesn't come on a Jubilee, but I sort of swapped it to a Jubilee
Yeah,
for that reason because they're just my favorite bracelets, and B, the one it comes with isn't great. But this one comes on sort of an interesting. It almost looks like a president style bracelet, but
yeah.
you know, you get a Cyclops, you get some pretty neat dial work on these, and they're fun. I mean, they retail I think at 450. I've seen them in the low twos. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
not gonna pay
they
an arm and a
definitely
leg.
retail 450. Um, you know what
So
this actually does reminds me a lot more of now that you said president? It
what's that?
reminds me of the oyster quartz,
Oh, totally. Yep.
right? Like
Yeah, I'm
the
getting that.
oyster quartz case, it's a little bit more rounded than it is blocky, but it reminds me a lot of the oyster quartz, especially like the president oyster quartz that had those types of bracelets.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now that you said that, but yeah, it's a cool little model. Nothing flashy, but definitely fun. Definitely summer colors.
Yeah,
Something you can wear out and around without worrying too much about it, right? Even if you're gonna wear it, you know, whatever you bring going around with the kids. If
it's a cool watch.
they decide to
I
pry
keep
it off your wrist, you're fine.
yeah, I keep looking at the turquoise one, not to be like basic, but like it does look really good.
But you
And
know,
at $450, like I'm not gonna sweat it. You know what I mean?
it's
Like it's
certainly not turquoise in the vein of the Tiffany craze. I mean, this is a very sea green turquoise, right?
yeah,
Unless you're talking about the sky blue one.
maybe that's what I'm talking about.
So I'm looking at there's like
Oh, you're
a
talking about the Fume one, right?
yeah,
No, that's not the one I'm
that
looking at. I'm
one's
talking
very
about the
turquoise. You're talking about okay, so you're talking about it's a little bit of a
yeah,
sky
the
blue.
sky blue. Yeah,
Again, definitely way bluer than Tiffany, I would say. This is
yeah,
it's probably sky blue if I had to put my finger on it.
yeah. It just looks good though.
It does.
It looks really good. And I think overall that's kind of like the number one theme that I found this year for me in summer watches. It's color. And I think, before when we were thinking about summer watches, it was always like, oh, diver this, water resistancy
Right,
this,
100%.
NATO compatibility here. The one thing that I found that is the most reoccurring theme here in all the stuff that you certainly are probably picking, and I am going to pick as well, is the idea of color. And for me, that leads me to my first pick, which I've seen this watch. I love this watch. I really want this watch. It's not in the budget right now, but very cool timepiece. And that's part of the Aquaterra collection, the new shades, specifically the saffron dial. So this is kind of more that orangey color.
Yeah.
Um, it's phenomenal in person. It doesn't look like it in the photo renderings. I know that Omega always is notoriously bad for their photo renderings on the website. But when you see this watch in person, it goes from like a bright tangerine orange to kind of like an old gold color. It
That's what
has
I'm
a
getting from looking at it.
it's it is really good, and I love it. I love the 38 millimeter size, and I know you and I have talked about that. A lot of brands are kind of coming back into more of a conservative size range for most people, and I think this is a great watch. It's going to make a punch. This to me is like the perfect, linen shirt, South Beach with a cocktail, lounging out on the sand. Like this is kind of that vibe. And for me, I want to picture that. If you could use, a modern term, right? That a lot of young people do, the golden hour. If you could encapsulate that idea of the golden hour, like the sunset's going down, you get that beautiful golden rush across the sky. That is literally what this watch looks like in real life. And to me, that is always going to be evocative of summer, cracking a brew, watching the sun go down on the beach, doing something like that in fun vacation mode. And to me, that's this watch. So you still get the Seamaster Aquaterra. It's still 150 meters, 38 millimeter. It's technically unisex. So if your wife wants to steal it, or your husband wants to steal it, or whoever wants to borrow the watch, If you guys share, I think it's a perfect sharing watch as well. Um, Not that people always do that, but I know couples that do. I think this would be a fantastic piece to a collection.
Yeah, and you get a few different flavors that could probably work as a summer watch. Maybe not all of
Hmm.
them. You know, maybe as much as I love the terracotta, I don't know if that'll. It
I
might.
know
You can maybe swing.
that one is hot though. It is hot
No, I mean
like that.
that's. I think that's everybody's favorite color.
Yeah, it is the hardest to get for sure too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I really like the green personally. Again,
Yeah,
maybe a little too springy than summer. But yeah, definitely the saffron, definitely the blue. I could see. Um, I mean, these are great all arounders, right? This is sort of what the idea was when I think when they set out to make the Aquaterra was make an ideal all around watch, right? You're getting
yeah,
plenty of athleticism out of it. You're getting, you know, great timekeeping, anti-mag properties, you know, very nice movements, good finishing, nice bracelets, great sizing. Like it's just a great all around watch, and it's sort of a can't miss. Like if somebody's told me I'm considering Alcantara, I'd say, well, you know, can't go wrong there, right?
yeah, for sure.
It's just what it is. So, you know, I think you can't really fault that pick. I think that'll work regardless. Yeah, good pick. And like I said, you have different flavors. I'm yet to see any of the 34s. I've seen pictures of the 38s. I haven't seen any of the pictures of 34s yet. Those sort of pastelly ones that they came out
Mm-hmm.
with.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious about
Yeah,
some of them.
they're out too. I mean, both collections are out. I think most of all the models are pretty widely represented now. The only exception being, from what I understand, is the terracotta.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
one that everyone wants is the hardest one
it's
to
a,
get
it's a
for
dope,
obvious
it's
reasons.
a dope color. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it is a dope color for sure.
What are you gonna do? All right. You know, I gotta say, one that we talked about sort of recently that has stuck with me thinking about summer watches because again, you mentioned well, usually you think divers, usually you think you know orange Seikos or you know your watermelon zodiacs or whatever. One that we talked about that struck a nerve with me because of both the design, I like the brand that's doing it, I like the colors that it came out with was that Autodromo chronograph we saw recently,
Oh yeah.
right? I mean, they
Yes.
have that one with
Solid pick.
the bright blue subdials and everything. You know, it's reminiscent of those old rally cars. It's sporty, it's fun. You know, they make a very nice wearable watch if you've ever had an Autodromo. I have. Um, you know, it's a chronograph, gives you something a little different to wear in the summer that maybe isn't a diver, maybe isn't you know overly flamboyant with a gradations bezel or anything.
Yeah.
So I really like these. You know, you get a little bit of orange on some of them, you get a little bit of bright blue on some of them, your typical blacks and whites, but I really like the layout. As I said, you know, in that episode we talked about it's sort of evocative of the Jujaro, which is
Yes.
legendary
Such
Seiko,
a good watch.
right?
Such a good watch.
Or if you're an Alien fan, it's also sort of tied into the lore there.
Yeah, the Ripley
Yep,
watch.
the Ripley watch. So just a neat watch all around. You know that if you're into maybe you're not so much a beach person, but maybe you are into you know you're into the whole classic car scene. Maybe you have a classic car. Maybe you're just down to drive, right? If you're into that part of this the warm weather, right? Because you don't want to be taking that stuff out in the winter, right? The
Yeah.
salt, the bad weather. So if you're into that part of, you know, maybe you're somebody who hits up the car shows and stuff, maybe that's perfect for you. You know, I think I would really like to check one out. Again, they're kind of hard to come by as far as just autodromers in general because they do the same thing. They sort of just have a run, and when
Yeah.
they're out, we'll
They're out.
restock when I feel like it. And if you get one, good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, it's one of those brands that I've spoken about this before. It's you just got to give it up to them. They have a very unique style, and if you like it, you're in. And if you don't,
Yeah.
it's fine. But you got to give them props for doing it sort of original and in their own right. You know, where they're not
Yeah,
really
it's
following
their
anybody
own way.
else's trend.
It's their own way. And you have to remember too, when they first came out in the scene, there was nobody doing anything like what they were doing. You know, that was really a micro brand that really came out at the right time, doing something cool, focusing on, you know, kind of like the niche thing, like we're doing car watches, right? Like that in some way could be inspiration for something like brew. Like we're making watches based off of coffee. You know what I mean? Like it's very niche,
Mm-hmm.
but you gotta love it. Their designs are amazing. I will talk about Autodromo till I'm blue in the face. I love the brand. I love the product. I know people that own the product and they love it. And it's just a very cool design. So great choice. I love it.
Yeah, I remember being at, I think it was the first one I ever went to, and I was listening to somebody at a booth saying, working at a booth, and they were sort of speaking about the watches a little bit begrudgingly, but they were saying the prices are a little high, but the fact that because they're the only game in town doing what they're doing, it is irrelevant. Like
Yeah.
they're going to move watches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was just kind of chuckling at it, but I was like, that is true, right?
I mean, you know, you do you, boo. Right?
Yep.
Okay. I got another pick. Speaking of another colorful dial, this watch, ever since we kind of talked about it, post Watches and Wonders, I can't get it out of my head, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Because it's a very odd choice for me, but I love it probably way more than I should. And that's the new Tag Heuer Carrera, 36 millimeter hot pink dial.
Oh, nice.
I don't know what this watch is doing to me, man. It is like I see like live shots of it and I fall even more enamored with it.
Miami Vice. That's what you're thinking.
It's just it's something like straight 80s. Like it is that 80s neon pink. I love it because it's kind of like, the real men wear pink, kind of colorway. So it's kind of like that, in terms of an emotional tie for me. But I just love the watch. I could give two craps about Tag as a company. I know they make some okay watches. I know this is kind of like not their bread and butter. It's a time only Carrera. It's kind of like the Aquaterra I just talked about. But there's something about this design in this colorway of a dial that I'm like, yeah, it does things. So I don't know, man. Maybe I'm having an identity crisis, but uh maybe I'm just getting to that point in my collection where I just don't care anymore. I'm just like, I like what I like, and it's just like that's what it's gonna be. Yeah, I'll rock the 36 millimeter hot pink dial and you can just shove it. But it's just cool. I could also see my wife wearing it as well. So I don't know. I like it way more than I care to admit. So
Yeah, I gotta say it gives me GTA vibes. Vice City.
it's a little Vice
And
City vibes, you know what I'm saying?
I run so far
Yes,
away. Yeah,
exactly. A
that's
little
that's all
flock
I
of
hear when
seagulls.
that's all I hear when I see that watch, right? So
Flock of seagulls. Yeah,
yeah, no,
it's cool,
I
man.
think it's cool. I think it's cool. It's a really good size. It's a nice layout. Again, not their bread and butter, not a chronograph. Something a little bit out of the box, but I think definitely something that they're trying to push more recently and that they're making a run at, right? I mean, I know
Yeah.
many of even their divers are much more well known than their time onlys, but hey, you got to expand your line somewhere, right? You can't just rest on your
Yeah,
laurels making
and
chronographs or making, you know, aqua racers and stuff. So
and the price point is good. I think it's like 3,200 bucks.
I did
So
see
it's
that. Yeah.
not cheap. It's not cheap. It's not, it falls in line with a lot of other brands, and Tag is, a very well known brand for good or bad reasons at this point, but it's just a cool design. It's sporty, and I think it would be cool to have.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I actually took my next pick and or picks here. I took a bit of inspiration from stuff that you've been talking about probably over the past few months, and I was torn between. I know we talk a lot about Fair on the show,
Mm-hmm.
and between their newer GMTs, sort of the smaller GMTs that we talked about, the pink one is really
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
That and the Aquamatics.
Oh
We
man, that is a summer
right. That is
watch.
the
That is a
summerest
summer
of
watch
this
for
the most summary
sure.
of summer watches. Right, you get all those different, very vibrant
Oh man.
colorways. They are sort of in the diver vein. You know, you're getting a little bit of athletic wear there, where you can go in the spray park and not feel too bad about it. And they're just neat. They're neat. You know, they're very
Yeah, it
bold.
is.
They've got the bold indices and hand sets and things, and very very vibrant and just different colors than what you're getting everywhere else. So I
Yeah,
really
I
thought
can't
that was a
I
good one
can't it's a fantastic one. And I honestly am kind of embarrassed that I didn't even think about it because
because you were
I
so
love this
high on it.
collection.
Yeah,
Yes, I love this collection so much. And I was like, whenever we do these conversations about what we're gonna do, like I always try to go, all right, let me do something that I know I haven't talked about, or if I've talked about it, let me approach it from a different angle or a different way. And man, this little mini collection of Ferrers is just very beachy, very tropical, very cool design. Um, and they're fun. And I think that that's honestly, one of the most impressive things is like they're super fun.
yeah. And I mean, you talk about Miami. They got this one straight up Miami Dolphins, orange and
Yes.
teal.
The Thurso or whatever the Torso. Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
it's cool.
they're
It's
very
cool.
clean. They're very legible. They're sporty. You know, like
Yeah.
this is a very fun collection.
Yeah. And it's day date, and like it's perfect for travel as well. So even though you don't want to have to really rely on time when you're on vacation mode, you still actually know where you are in the world. You have a little bit of that reminder. Okay, it's Friday. We got to get back to work on Monday. So there you go. I don't know. It's a very vacation watch, and I love it. And the thing too is, this watch is so colorful and fun that like if you were in a vacation area, most people are not going to recognize it as a luxury watch. You know what I mean? Like it's still got a little bit more of like an under the radar appeal about it because it's overly whimsical that people would probably be like, yeah, it's probably not something I want to take.
Like not for nothing, man. Right up around $1,000. Really not a bad pickup.
No, just for funsies, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, best almost fits best watch under $1,000. Or you could have a Seiko
Or you
5
could have a
Sport.
Rowing Blazers Seiko 5.
You know, like
Oh man.
that's what I'm
Oh
talking
man.
about.
Oh God, what cringe. So which of the colorways was your favorite of these?
You know, I'm torn between straight up Miami Dolphins Thurso
Yeah.
and the freshwater.
Yeah, the freshwater's always been
Freshwater's a
one for me.
sneaky one, man. White
Yeah.
dial with sort of like the ice bezel and loom.
Yeah. This literally whenever I look at this watch, I literally picture a fisherman like on his boat, standing on top of his Yeti, casting into the ocean. Like every time I look at this watch, that's the first thought that comes in my mind. I'm like, yeah, I'm already on vacation mode and don't even realize it. You know what I mean? The Nazare is also one of my favorites, like the pink with the teal. I think it's very
Yeah,
cool.
that one's out there, man.
It's out there, but for me, it looks like nothing else I own. So why not go there?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that would fit in a collection pretty well.
It's just like it's such an outlier that I absolutely love it. Oh, good pick, man. Good pick.
And you can get it on Jubilee, which is nice. Or this pretty sweet like pyramid textured rubber, which is also
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. I think they actually come with a multitude of straps,
They
if I'm not
probably do. I mean,
mistaken.
a lot of micro brands do like to provide that kind of value.
Spearmint Island, red bezel. Yeah. Yeah, supply
Yep.
with
Yep.
quick release rubber strap, NATO strap, and Jubilee bracelets.
Yeah.
So you get all
All
three
three.
for just over $1,000. Come at me, bro. That is like a deal for sure. Like that is crazy. Nobody's doing that.
Oh, and I see the one you like has a wave pattern.
Yeah, yeah, it's super subtle.
Yeah,
Super
wow.
subtle
They
wave pattern.
snuck that in there.
It's cool, man. There's a couple of them that have the wave pattern as well, but not all of them do, which is cool.
Yeah, okay. See it. Very nice.
Yeah, very cool watch, very cool design, and man, I'm kind of embarrassed I didn't pick it for myself. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And then you got, like I said, you got those GMTs. They get sort of the pink and the mint.
Yeah.
Again, color playing
Literally,
a
literally
heavy role here.
you could just literally pick any Ferrer and it's a summer watch.
Yeah, not
You know
gonna
what I
lie,
mean?
they got a good selection.
They got a fantastic option. They got a fantastic selection. So you could literally pick anything and it would be a perfect summer watch. All right, cool. So rounding out one of my favorite sneaky releases of this year, is the new Timex. I'm sorry, Timex Tissot. I have also a Timex on my list. The Tissot PRX full loom dial. Um,
Okay.
yeah, this to me is kind of like that nightclub vacation mode where you're like, I'm wearing all white linen, I'm in Miami, and then you go into the nightclub and your dial is just screaming at everybody. That to me is kind of a subtle flex, even though this is, a $350 quartz watch. I just think it's cool. It's on a white rubber, perfect for the summer. Maybe not a diver, maybe not something ultra reliable, super, utilitarian tough, but just a very cool sporty design that is very much of that like 70s, 80s, like Miami Vice vibe. And I like it. And I think I will get this watch at some point soon. I just like it so much.
Yeah, I
So,
mean it's a quirky, fun release. Right. I think, like you said, it's kind of sterile white by day, and then you get the aggressive glow by night. So that's cool.
you know,
Yeah, and it's a great quartz beater. It's what it is.
I mean, and everyone loves a PRX.
And
Like,
I was gonna say I'm seeing the PRX pop up on a lot of wrists of normies nowadays.
yes,
They're
like
really
I'm
making the
seeing it
rounds.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of crazy how often I see it. And I ask people about it because I know, this was a watch collector's watch first. And I'll ask people like, and they're like, oh yeah, I saw it on YouTube. I just love the die. I love the bracelet, so I had to go get it. And I was like, oh yeah, so you're watching Teddy Baldessar videos at 12 in the morning. Perfect. I see you.
Yeah, it's weird. This watch and the Moon Swatch I've been seeing on a lot of normies, and I'm intrigued to say the least.
Hey, this is how the next generation gets infatuated with watches. I think it's a good thing.
Yep, yep, no doubt, no doubts. I will round out mine here with it's funny you mentioned it before. You were talking about brew in that respect, and this one is sort of the exact opposite of what we've been talking about, where we got vibrant colors and everything, but their more latest release of the black metric, I thought was just it would make an extremely fun summer watch. Sort of what I was talking about before, how if you're into the car scene, maybe you're just into the warm weather, and the maybe you're not a beach person, right? You're getting a sporty watch, right, with a cool design. You're getting some orange accent,
Yeah.
right, and you're getting it in sort of that package that only he's putting out right now, and it's a nice price point, and it's just cool, man. And like I said, if you're maybe into that car vibe, it's right up your alley, right? It gives Orfina vibes. Maybe you
Yeah.
don't want to buy an Orfina, so maybe you're a Maverick kind of guy, but you're like, Orfina. I don't want to get that deep, so maybe this will
Yeah.
scratch that itch for you. But I just thought it was a super cool watch from the minute I saw it. I was like, yeah, that's nice. As much as I like the gold one, I think the black one is.
Yeah, the Max Gold is pretty good, man.
I just think the black is like it really is kind of
Yeah.
sneaky and under the radar, but also just fun enough to make for a cool summer watch.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, a lot of these brew watches could really pass for that as well. I mean, there's so many different cool kind of collaborations or nods that they've done in the past that are really really nice. I mean, I think the metric is kind of like where brew has really come into its own and really become kind of a household name. I
Yeah,
mean, I even saw videos about it on YouTube from Rolex flippers. You know what I mean? Like that's how you know you've arrived into something special and unique that people really vibe with. And the metric I think is certainly that. I love that it's an asymmetrical dial layout. I love kind of the big eye look. It mixes so many different types of attributes from other popular designs, but the design itself still feels fresh. It still feels refreshingly different, and I love it because you can do something like the Max Gold, and it can be this super like flashy baller looking watch, or you could go for the PVD black and it's super low key, right? It's the same watch just represented in an entirely different way that's going to respond to two different people
Right.
completely, you know? I think it's very cool. I love the design. I think, what John does with Brew is pretty amazing. So I love this. I love the watch, man. This is a cool one for sure.
All right. You got anything else over on your end?
I got um I got one last watch that I kind of threw in here, and then I have one kind of like honorable mention. Um, so my last watch, kind of bringing home the '80s theme. It's nothing crazy. It's $99. It's the Timex T80 steel and 36 millimeter. It's a resin strap, so it's basically a steel case with a resin strap. And this dial and resin strap has like a gradiated pink to purple, almost fume patterning, if you will. But it's an analog digital watch. I'm sorry, it's a digital watch, not analog digital. It's a digital watch with an LCD screen, but steel case. So it's very funky, very 80s. I mean, T80 is in the name as well, but I just like it. I've told you about it before that I liked it. It's just such a silly design, but I'm kind of like, yeah, why not? Like, this is fun. This is like a great, grab coffee kind of watch. Like, you're just gonna throw something on, and it's kind of a little sporty, a little chic, but nothing too crazy or snobby. It's just fun. And I think this summer's all about color. It's all about fun. So for me, this would be kind of that perfect body embodiment of that. And plus, if you didn't want to spend a lot of money, I think it's a great option. At just under $100.
Yeah,
Now,
I think that's something worth noting.
yeah, I mean, again, this is a no frills watch. You know, you're getting what you're getting for $100. It's just cool that they have it in a few different colorways that make it feel more unique and special.
Yeah, that's what I
And
was
I like
looking
that.
at. That's what I was
I
looking at. I
like that.
saw like a pink to orange. I saw
Yeah.
blue to green.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's three colorways in total, but I wouldn't be surprised if, given the popularity of these, that they expand that even further. Um, and this is kind of coming out right on the heels of like the Barbie movies coming out, and I think
Yep.
some of these watches might have been like used in the film as well. So I feel like this is kind of tying into that like '80s Mattel Barbie world type thing. I don't think this one's a very Barbie watch personally, but I could see how that could kind of like fit into the color scheme of that world, you know? Um, yeah, so I think we would also be remiss if we didn't talk about one of the most highlight watches of 2023, especially as it correlates to summer watches, and that would be our friends at Mr. Jones, a perfectly useless afternoon, the new mechanical version, which is now up for sale on the website, ladies and gentlemen. So if you've been putting it off, the quartz model at 37 millimeters is sold out, unfortunately. Boohoo. But the 40 millimeter, the brand new mechanical, is up for sale right now. Go and get it. Support our friends at Mr. Jones.
Very
And maybe
nice.
one day they'll learn from us that we really helped catapult them into the sales figures of 2022 and 2023. So you're welcome. But I think no summer watch collection could ever be complete without a perfectly useless afternoon. So
That's
that's all
good.
I got.
That's very good. I like that. I like that a lot. So, yeah, definitely go check that out if you haven't already, because we're fans of it, and apparently a lot of other people are too. Because
Yeah, apparently so, man. There's people everywhere rocking this watch now, which is cool.
yeah, very fun. Um, but yeah, I know that's it on my end. So if that's it for you, we can send this one off, and we will catch everybody next week on episode 84. Closing it on
84.
100 fast.
I know. So fast.
Scary. Scary. All right, my friend. Catch you next week.
Everybody take it easy.